Have you ever heard of focus lens? No, not that focus lens. And no, I'm not talking about the scope lens from Pokemon either. No, what I am indeed talking about is the Dojin Circle focus lens. Now, there isn't that much known about focus lens. In fact, they just kinda made two really good games before dipping out of the Touhou community. They've also made some CDs, which are typical of Dojin Circles, but the weird thing is that it seemed like there were going to be way more games created, and for a while that seemed to be the case. In fact, the last known posting of the Focus Lens group was that they would be coming to the Autumn Festival in 2016, which would basically mean that we were going to get a new game sooner or later, right? Well, you'd be very wrong, because the group hasn't been making anything in 5 years. That's a really long time. So, as a tribute, I'm going to be covering the two games that they've made, starting off with Touhou Rhythm Carnival and moving on to Touhou Puppet Dance Performance. This will be a bunch of separate videos, but once I've created all of them, it'll become a massive playlist, and there will be one summarized video which will be added after I am done making them. So let's go ahead and talk about Touhou Rhythm Carnival. Now, upon booting up the game, you will see Aya talking about how there's nothing to record lately. And of course, that brings her to the one place she hasn't checked in a while, the Scarlet Devil Mansion. And she just prepares to go, and then she just takes off, like that. And yeah, pretty cold opening for a game. But, you know, it kind of feels like a bit of Fallout. But here we are, Touhou Rhythm Carnival in all its glory, and I'm using the Japanese version. Yeah, deal with it. Now, upon booting up the game, you will have access to 3 minigames: the Great Library Maintenance, Apparition Squadron Is That So, and Romelu Pose. Now, I don't really feel like any of these games are that hard, is what I would say. But after playing through each and every one, I feel that it's a bit hard. So I'll be trying to give out tips for each of the games respectively, starting with, of course, Apparition Squadron Is That So. Now, the premonition of this game is quite simple. In fact, it should be one of the easiest things to understand. Apparently, Cerno, Dayusei, and Lumia are playing Power Rangers, which apparently happens to be a very popular trend in the 2012. I don't know, I've never really watched Power Rangers that much. But what's important is that for this minigame, all you have to do is just press 1, 2, 3 in according to Cerno and Dayusei, which I fail terribly as seen here. Now, the thing I've noticed a lot about this is that they sometimes like to throw sneak attacks at you. I don't really listen to the music much in this one, but sometimes after a very slow one, they like to throw very fast ones, and that sometimes catches me off guard. So my tip for this is just focus and keep a rhythm in your head going. For example, when Cerno goes, say 1, when Dayusei goes, says 2, and when Rumia's turn, just press Z, which is the first prompt button. Next up is the Great Library Maintenance, and for this, I don't really have any so much tips, so to speak, but more of a suggestion. For this one, it doesn't really affect, and as the guide says, as the instructions do say, the timing is very strict. In fact, in this gameplay here, I miss my second book, I think, immediately, or one of the closer ones, but I missed the book because of the timing. But there is a quick way to this. Whenever you see a bunch of circles grouped together, all you want to do is you want to look at them, see how many circles there are, listen to the music, and then tap accordingly. So if you see 3 circles, then they go 1, 2, 3 in your head, and if you see like 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you see something like 6 circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, usually works out pretty fine. In fact, this is my first silver medal run, and I haven't explained much of the game's terms yet, but there is 4 levels of grading, similar to about Rhythm Heaven. You have Try Again, which is the worst. Basically, when you miss too many books or fail to do the objective. You have OK, in which you manage to go past 50%, 75%, I assume. Go past 75% and not screw up that many things. So about 5. About 5 misses in this one. I don't really know the specifics, but I do know is that once I miss more than 10 times, I gotta try again, and I know that less than that, it's okay. So I think it's around 10. But other than that, there's also Success and Perfect. Perfect is a no-hit run, and Success is 1 or 2. There are also special images depending on what you get. For example, if you get a Try Again or an OK, you will get a bad ending, while if you get a Success or a Perfect, you get a good ending. These generally range from characters getting hurt to more happy-go-lucky images, but it's more of a side thing. It's just more of an appreciation or a thanks for what you've done, basically. Next up is Romelu Pose, and I think this is arguably the easiest minigame of them all, although it did take me a while to realize that I didn't read the instructions and I kinda just rushed in on my first attempt, so it took me a while to realize that if she's near you, you have to press X, which is your bomb button in Touhou game, while if she's in the background, you press Z. So some mini games require you to press 2 times or so in order to get them, but honestly, this is the introduction to those 2 button games. This is technically easy. I would even go as far to say that compared to Apparition, is that so? I have gotten more wins on this than anything else, but people will disagree, and I will show you why later. But for now, this is the objectively easiest minigame. All you have to do is follow up, like if you hear a bush rustling, and then you take a camouflage a second later, so you go 1 and 2. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is just that, and you should be able to beat it. I actually got a success on my first try, so it wasn't that hard, but took a while to getting used to. Next up is Pack Lumia, and I feel that this is one of the also easier parts. There's some games later that make me want to slam my head against a wall, but this is one of the easiest ones. In fact, this run made me miss only 1 time because of inappropriate timing. Some important facts you need to know is that to dodge the kendama, you need to press the X button later than usual compared to the apples. The apples have a pretty big hitbox, so you can eat them and not get bonked. It's not that hard, actually. The apples are the easiest thing. The kendama are probably the harder ones, but you can use their little squeak to dodge them, kind of like a 1, 2, 3 motion. Apples have this little kick before they get flung, so it's also pretty easy to identify which are apples. Kendama will appear on the bottom of the screen, so it's also quite easy to recognize them. Honestly, this minigame is pretty easy, and I rated a, well, not that much, but it's still a way more fun minigame compared to the ones we'll talk about later. Chattery Beat is one of those gimmick type games, and it's basically Simon Says but with rhythm. Now, apparently, Simon Says was going to be much. Apparently, Simon Says is much easier if you do it with rhythm, because I found myself actually memorizing most of the books when I was focusing with the music in mind. Uh, it shouldn't be that hard to brute force, especially since that you can really just abandon the music and just spam to win. But if you miss a single one, this is one of the lowest success rates in the game. Probably because as soon as you fail one, even one of the Simon Says patterns, you are immediately going to get an okay or lower, because you're not gonna get anything else. Apparently, it's calculated by how many times you fail the Simon Says, not the entire puzzle. So, of course, this is one of the more harder mini games to full clear, but it shouldn't be that hard. My tip for this is seeing how many times it beats and then repeating it in your head. For example, if you see the blue crystal beep 4 times, just so 1, 2, 3, 4 in your head. Stuff like that. It's a pretty easy mini game. Alright, this is the one I'm going to talk about. Scarlet Beat is one of the most painful experiences I have ever felt. Well, not because that it's bad, more because I'm focused more visually than musically. So if you follow the music, you shouldn't be fine. Typically the way to dodge the bullets is I wait for them to get to Aya's head before I press Z, and then you can also press X to dodge long bullets. So the thing is that once you get a feel of the music, you can do it blindfolded, right? Well, here's the problem. If you're not blind, if you're not blind, the problem is that your brain is, my brain at least, was visually panicking during this entire part, because also warnings are pretty bad. If you hear a loud charge up noise, then she's gonna use the beam attack. If you hear a slight beep, she's gonna use the big bullet attack. It's kind of weird, but the thing is, this is actually me suffering. I have played this 5 times. I am actually very thankful that the skill cap is really low. You can get an okay, but you don't have to. Basically, if you get hit a lot of times, you'll still have enough chance to get a success. And if this wasn't a rhythm game, I would be panicking and wondering how to dodge this. Oh my god. Mailing's Close Call is not hard, but it is very annoying. The timing is very strict. Even arguably, I would say it's even more strict than the Great Library maintenance. This is pretty simple. For me, you can do this 2 ways. You can listen to the music, or you can look at the knives. The knives are arguably easier, but I don't know, prefer which one you want. Honestly, I went with the knives because I just imagined a clockwise circle spinning and me hitting knives. It's way easier compared to the other game, but we're not gonna mention that. Die jump is another one that I struggled with a lot at the beginning, mainly because I didn't understand when to press the Z button. But once you get understand, it's pretty easy. This is one of the earlier runs I did. So what I basically did for this, a quick tip, is pressing Z while Dayuse Zayuse while Dayuse is at the edge of the ice. This is, well, I don't know for other people, but for me this was the best. It actually helped me get a success from the first time I played this. But pressing Z is very useful. It helped for the long ice parts. I've also found out that you should release somewhere when Dayuse's foot is around the slow ramp. Like, as soon as she's approaching the ramp, you should get ready to let go. That will help make the timing a bit easier, because I released as soon as she got close to the ramp. That is when you should be releasing. Flandre March is probably the weirdest minigame here. It's more like, why is this in a rhythm game? But, you know, it works out fine. Its timing is a bit weird, but you should be able to get it. Just listen to the, I guess, sound effects Petrol's producing, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually you have to wait. Once you don't hear the sound effects anymore, that's when you should be starting to do the actions. So if she says slowly and then she finishes, you wait until you stop hearing the squeaks, and then you go 1, 2, 1, 2. It's pretty weird. Another thing is with rests is 1, 2, 3, and then rest 1, 2, 3. So you'll be alternating legs. Yeah. Let's see. One of the downsides of this is that if you mess up, it's gonna take a bit to get into rhythm. So this is probably another one to get a very easy okay, but not very hard to get success. Frost K is also a bit of a weird one, but it's not that hard. If you do a 1, 2, 3 rhythm, this should be easy. So for Frost K, what you have to do is, there's two ways to do this. One, you could rely on the frogs croaking. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The fast frogs sometimes catch me off guard. Or the other way is by looking at the frogs jumping. Now, this might sound a bit weird, but when the frogs look down, that's when you should be pressing the Z button to freeze them. It's a bit weird, but it worked out usually. So I barely miss if I do this strategy. So you should just keep doing one of those two strategies, and you'll probably get a success on this one. It's really easy to not mess up. So yeah. Scarlet Devil Mansion Defense Front. Boy, where do I begin? This is the one where the instructions don't really help that much. So, for the beginning, I'd like to imagine when they're coming, you hear them squeaking, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then kicking. But when the spam part happens, that's when you have to ignore all hope and just go with the rhythm. Now, this will be very similar to another game, Leviathan, later, which is the worst game of all time. But this is better. This is an easier game since the hit reg isn't so, well, I guess tight compared to Leviathan, but it is pretty easy to dodge. Just go 1, 2, 3 and hit the fluffy boys. Leviathan. Definitely and arguably the worst game in the entire pack. Now, I have no problem with just dodging games, constant metronome type games, but this one just pisses me off. The speed ups are very inconsistent. One time you look like you could handle speed up, but nope, she just somehow manages to cut you faster, painfully. There's also 3 combos where you have to go 1, 2, 3. I don't really have a strategy for this. That's how bad it's been. Honestly, I mean no harm to the people who made this minigame, but I wouldn't be sad if this went to go burn in hell somewhere. This is one of the weirder games here, but Holiday of the Scarlet Devil is a bit weird. Thought of the fact that it's just a bit uneven, which can be said about the amount of tea I've been pouring into the Fairies Cups. But essentially, the music notes are supposed to help you. Normal fairies are going what? This is essentially like Rhythm Heaven's blast off game. Normal fairies have to go to 3, while small cup fairies go to 1 and big cup fairies go to 8. It's very weird. It's like a weird quarter beat mashup thing, but you get it. However, sometimes swarm might get to you, like a lot of fairies at once might seem terrifying. And in fact, it might be. I don't know. I started to panic once the swarm came in. The tiny fairies are probably the easiest, but also quite hard to screw up, so Do what you will. This one is a bit of a doozy. It's okay. Maid Sweeper is another mad mini game. The controls explanation are right. It'd probably be difficult at first, but it's quite easy once you get used to it. That's how I felt about this entire game as a whole. So it's simple. Once you hear the time stopping effect, just press Z as many kendama are in a 1, 2, 3 sort of way. So if there's like 5, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple, right? Yeah, but you wouldn't believe how easy it is to screw this mini game up. People might assume it's easy, but once you try it, it gets pretty difficult. And last but not least, we have the remix. There's nothing much to say about the remix other than the fact that it's essentially all the other minigames except Chant Rebeat, Leviathan, and Die Jump? Well, Romelu Pose is also a thing. Basically, it's a remix. Basically, and well, I don't really have anything else to say. Just enjoy my horrible attempt, I suppose. And just like that, we have come to a... Wait, no, wait, no, wait, hold on. Stop. Wait, stop everything. Wait, did I mention the other things yet? No? Let's go back to it. So apart from the main game itself, there's also a shop, aka Corindo, where Renosuke sells you both pictures and music to listen to. Where do you listen to the music, of course? Obviously, well, let's not cover that first. First of all, you can view your pictures in the pictures menu. This allows you to essentially, well, look at all the things you have, and the question marks are probably ones you haven't bought from Corindo or you just haven't achieved yet by not perfecting. Now, on to the more important thing. The jukebox allows you to play music from anywhere in the game. Now, honestly, I feel that this is great because you get to listen to stuff, and even though Focus Lens might not be making any more games, this is one of, if not definitely one of the better Touhou fan games out there, and well, it was a welcome one. Also, there's like hard modes for every game, but like we don't talk about that. Law.